Welcome to the Cyber Rants Podcast, where we're all about sharing the forbidden secrets and slightly embellished truths about corporate cybersecurity programs. We're ranting, we're raving, and we're telling you the stuff that nobody talks about on their fancy website and trade show giveaways, all to protect you from cyber criminals. And now, here's your hosts, Mike Rotondo, Zach Fuller, and Lauro Chavez.
Hello and welcome to the Cyber Rants Podcast. This is your co-host, Zach Fuller, joined by Mike Rotondo and Lauro Chavez. We have a little bit different episode today. We have special guest Hayden Storrow joining us, and we'll talk to her and about her progress in the cybersecurity industry, and we'll dive into a little bit about how we got to know Hayden and such here shortly. But Mike, before we do that, will you kick us off with the news?
Yep, good day and welcome to the headline. There's nothing we can do about this file. Yandex suffers data breach after sysadmin sold access to user emails. Yeah, that's kind of your worst nightmare.
Nothing we can do.
No, it's just like, yeah, okay. I just chose this one out because, hey, Valentine's Day was last week, but pre-Valentine's Day malware attack mimics flower and lingerie stores. So be careful with what you bought. Ransom attackers set their sights on SaaS. SaaS is becoming a bigger and bigger attack platform. They're hitting it harder. So be careful. More ransomware. Security researchers discover help desk software vulnerability. This is in Desk Pro, which is another, remote access software solution for help desk. So if you're using it, make sure it's patched. It's a cross-site scripting issue. Apple patches severe Mac OS Big Sur data loss bug. So if you're running Mac, make sure you're up to 11.3. Interesting article on this. I'd really recommend that you check out the link on our podcast. It's called How One Man Silently Infiltrated Dozens of High-Tech Networks. Apparently, there's some source code that's been published by a few vendors you might have heard of: Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, Uber, Yelp, and others, that is customized internally and can be easily hacked. So be careful with that and check out that link. From the really isn't the year bad enough already, more bosses are using software to monitor remote workers. And not everyone is happy about it. Not surprised. We've come a long way since Mouse Jiggle, but this is getting a little more sophisticated. RDP, the ransomware problem that won't go away. Yes, RDP is becoming more and more of an issue. Attacks are becoming more and more of an issue. Mass Logger swipes Microsoft Outlook, Google Chrome credentials. Hackers are now leveraging Windows help files as an attack vector. Definitely an interesting attack story. Definitely recommend you look at that from ThreatPost. Details tied to Safari browser-based Scam Club campaign revealed. This is back on Big Sur 11.01. It affected Google and Safari, so recommend you upgrade if you can. Microsoft pulls Windows KB 4601-1392 for blocking security updates, and then had to pull another for blocking security updates. So that was KB 5001079. So good job, Microsoft. And finally, first malware designed for Apple M1 chip is now discovered in the wild. Apple's venturing into making their own chips, and we've already got malware for it. So world is exciting. Hey, Laura, anything you want to add?
Not as exciting as the new M1 chip malware. That's pretty cool. Well, what can you say? It's evolution, right? On the exploit front, not a lot to talk about other than, there's been some recent zero-day bugs with IPv4, IPv6, and things like that. I haven't seen any exploits come across any of the main lines that you don't have to pay for to try and see if they work. So exploit database not reporting anything of that use, which is good. I'm still patch those vulnerabilities, but there's no exploit capability that we're seeing today that's within at least the free range, right? Unless you're developing yourself, which is a whole different topic. However, what is interesting is that there's quite a few PHP-based web applications that have had exploits written for them in this last week, all of them geared towards online learning, which I thought was kind of interesting. So some of them are the teacher's record management system. It's got a SQL injection that someone wrote, again, available for Metasploit Pro. There was a school of attendance monitoring system, again, cross-site scripting on that one, a stored cross-site scripting piece so that you can consistently reflect. School file management system, another cross-site scripting on that. Interesting tasks for the teachers task management. And to sum it up, another one is online school management system version 1, and that's SQL injection too. So it looks like there's like this online education platforms that, companies are trying to write to help support this so remote learning capability that we need now right in the pandemic. And obviously the hackers are taking advantage of that. So please, in the light of our kids, don't speed to market this stuff. Make sure that you're doing your SDLC and checking for WAF stuff, because SQL injection just shouldn't come up anymore. I mean, it's just really negligent to build an online application that still has something like that. So that's it for exploitation. Zach, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you. Well, negligence is a big problem and leads to a lot of breaches. So it's certainly out there. We've been talking in the Cyber Rants podcast quite a bit about building the team, finding team members, good people. This is something our security services firm, Silent Sector, really prides itself on: quality over quantity, and just working with some outstanding individuals. In that, we also do some work with Grand Canyon University and help them as far as their security programmers. We're in touch with faculty, students, the cyber range that they have there. And it's really been great to see that organization grow their security program. In doing so, we met Hayden Storrow, who's with us today, and met her as a student when she was a student there at GCU. And she really stood out from the crowd. There are a lot of people that just go into cybersecurity because there are jobs available and there's demand for it. But she really truly has a passion, and it showed. And so we started working together. And Hayden helped tremendously. If you've read our book, you'll see a mention of her in the first few pages of the book. Helped tremendously with research. She's done a lot of writing, blog posts and things for us, and really just has a true passion for technology and cybersecurity. So we thought we'd bring Hayden on today and have her talk a little bit for those people that are looking to get into the industry, especially, and also for those people that are looking to employ cybersecurity professionals that are newer to the field. Thought it'd be great to get Hayden's perspective on what all this looks like out there, and because she comes at it from a different lens than we do. So thank you, Hayden, for joining us today. We really appreciate having you. And as always, it's just a pleasure to work with you.
Thanks, Zach and Laurel and Mike, for having me. Certainly the honor is all mine. Like, I'm super stoked to speak and share a little bit of my perspective and, I guess, roadmap to how I got to security.
Great. Yeah, thank you. And speaking of which, do you mind sharing a bit about what made you decide to pursue cybersecurity as a career and how you got started in it?
Sure. So I never knew that I wanted to do cybersecurity. I kind of got lucky where, like, senior year of high school, I was touring colleges, and GCU offered to fly people from my area, which is like 1,000 miles from Arizona, for free to the college. And that was kind of when I first heard of cybersecurity. Like, I was just kind of a typical, I guess, like, high school student, didn't really know, but knew that I needed to get a degree, get a job and whatever. But then when I was touring GCU, they had like a session on some of the degrees they offer. And I've always been good at technology, but just typical, like fixing a printer or helping my parents restart their, Fire TV, like nothing actually super advanced. But anyways, touring it and hearing like how much, like, I guess, opportunity but need there is for defenders and, I guess, red team as well. And that kind of like sparked interest in me, and seeing that it was such a like quick, fast-paced, agile environment compared to like what I was thinking of. I was heading towards like pharmaceutical type stuff. And then I was like screw that, like, that's boring. If I could do something that's, like really requires critical thinking, and it's always changing, and just, so that kind of, and then on top of that, also the whole doing something that's like meaningful. So like, yeah, being an accountant, yeah, you're helping people, whatever, but like cybersecurity, you're really like there, especially with IoT going out and 5G and all of these, buzzwords going, like, it's a real opportunity to, I guess, help humanity. So that's kind of how. And then I guess I also had, so then after, so I got back from the tour, came home, and I was like, told my parents, like, I know what I want to do now. And so then from there, I just kind of I got lucky when there was an internship in my town. So it's like a smaller, it's not like tiny, but it's not really like a tech city. And that security internship was what really like solidified like, okay, I want to do this for forever. So that's kind of how I got started.
What about school, Hayden? What would you say as far as your learning and your course to get prepared for a job? I mean, do you think you got most of your knowledge in school? Or were you doing a lot of work on the side as a hobbyist? Tell us about that and kind of where you picked up your skills that you have today.
Sure. So I guess for any job, you need to have like foundation. And so I was somewhat techie. I knew a little bit about, jailbreaking an iPod, like small stuff like that, but not any sort of enterprise or anything like that. And so at the internship, one of the things they told me like you should do is get your A plus, which is like a basic IT fundamentals, how computers work, how, traffic goes across the network, things like that. And so I guess a combination of school and then certificates, I got a few, and then the internship, they were honestly all really valuable. I guess school gave me the more textbook stuff, how a server works, and soft skills as well. We've learned like business stuff and how to get budgeting for projects. And I wish we had more technical, honestly, because like our ethical hacking class and stuff like that was very, very very basic, but enough to like I guess get me started, especially with cybersecurity being so new. I mean, we're kind of the guinea pigs in general at the school, so I wasn't like disappointed. But the internship is kind of really where I learned most of my I guess knowledge, and because that's just like that's real world. This is stuff that's happening every day. So that gave me a lot of knowledge, and then just for fun on the side, I did some like hacking competitions, I guess you could say, at ASU, and obviously online there's so many resources with YouTube and Udemy, and so I kind of did like a combination of like everything you could do. And then another thing I got to do, which was really like also somehow I got lucky, is I got to go to Black Hat, which is like a cybersecurity conference that's like the world's largest, where red team, blue team, purple team, gray team, any team, everyone just goes there. It's like so I got to go to that and learn a ton. That was super, super eye-opening of like how all of like car hacking and just all of these really like I realized how like everyone's so smart in this industry. So always room to learn. But I guess those were the basics.
And tell us about so you went through the internship through school, you followed that path, and tell us a little bit, at least what you can say about what you're doing now and what types of roles you picked up or what types of activities you picked up when you got into a full-time role.
So I got hired on as like the job title of security analyst for a security operations center. And it's a lot of ticketing type work. So we'll get an alert that something has happened, and then I'll go investigate it. And because I work at like an industrial control system company, they're very tight knit on internet access. So lots of just people trying to get access to, because we block uncommon TODs, we block executables for everyone. Like it's just very, so a lot of like analysis, like, okay, is this site safe? Or, why do you need access to this site that is in, Ukraine? I don't know if you need this for a small town company in Spokane. And a lot of telling people no, which is, and you get used to it. But so I do that. And then also I get to do some, I get to read antivirus reports and examine our phishing inbox that we have. And that's kind of, and then also I'm doing things like cleaning up our Active Directory. We have a bunch of old shared accounts, stuff like that. And then a lot of, I don't know if you guys have heard of Splunk, which I'm sure you probably heard of Splunk, but lots of Splunk stuff. Because I took a Splunk class online, it was free. And anyways, Splunk is really like, not to nerd out, but the power of the data. And so with that, when we're a little bit, I guess, slower with our tickets, working on creating queries to identify like data exfiltration, creating queries to identify like anything you could think of, you can probably do with Splunk. So I guess that's kind of what I do. And then obviously we have a call, like a line that people can call if they have urgent requests, because we block like USBs. We block so much stuff that it's strong. It's like, it's good from a security standpoint, but from a user standpoint, it can get tedious to keep submitting tickets. But anyways, I also monitored the call line, so if the answer call, and that kind of helped me a lot with slowing down on my talking because I talk kind of fast, and then also people skills because some people are just really frustrated or things like that.
Never actually heard of a frustrated computer user.
Yeah, that's so strange.
Must be unique to your company.
Yeah, must be your computing.
It's always security. It's literally always security's fault. Anytime it's like, oh, we didn't do that. And they're like, oh, security. So it's like a running joke now that.
Security's the problem.
Yeah, that's always been the joke. The security's the problem. Yeah. Oh.
You're going to get that for the next 30 years or so.
Oh yeah.
By the way, is it true that reading Cyber Rants is the equivalent of a 4-year college degree?
Yes, it is. Yes, yep, that is, that's the quick way.
Shameless plug.
Especially the part that you wrote. So,
There's a lot of valuable information in Cyber Rants. I'm not even biased. I'm just saying objectively speaking, it is a solid book.
Did you give it to everybody for Christmas?
I gave it to my parents, and yeah, that was it. But I still have all the copies, so we'll see.
Yeah, you gotta make sure they're worthy, right? You can't just Cyber Rants book given out gun goes Bert. You gotta make sure you give them to the right people, right? So very cool. So that's awesome. And so let me ask you, now that you've had a kind of an opportunity to be in an active team and kind of see the daily things, what organizations, big mature organizations, right? And I don't mean in size, I just mean in activities, right? The measures they go through to maintain regulation and compliance, and the all the stuff that has to happen on the back end, from analysts looking at logs to the Splunk data, aggregation and parsing and everything else that you want to do to get the data you need. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years in cybersecurity? Do you still see yourself in cybersecurity in 10 years? And then where do you think you'd see yourself being? Have you found a favorite spot yet that you got your eye on?
Yeah, kind of going off the internship again. I got to work under a great team. I still work with them, but at the time there was a threat hunter. Well, he left for a different company and they gave him more money. But anyways, he was a threat hunter, and that kind of really, basically the idea that you've already been compromised, but trying to find what's hiding, kind of like the needle in the haystack. So I would like to, shift more from analyst to threat hunter with time. That's a 3 to 5 year experience role at minimum, just because it requires very wealth of knowledge of enterprises and anywhere from network to coding to, so you have to know kind of everything. But I like that. And when I am air quote hunting, because sometimes my manager would be like, hey, do we have any telnet traffic from blank, and just random things like that. Or sometimes I have HR investigations where they'll be like, was so and so on Facebook at this time, and things like that. But that's not really hunting. But the actual hunting that I do when I can it's very enjoyable and something that I would like to get more into and more advanced with my knowledge. I want to stay in the cybersecurity industry. I kind of in the beginning mentioned that if I don't have a job, I have to find a new one. But if the case that I can't work remote with my current company, I still want to work with either some sort of energy company or utilities or power. So ICS, sticking with ICS, and not finance or education or healthcare or whatever. But that's this is all I want. It's not it might not happen, it might, but I would really like to stick with ICS for the rest of my life, or I guess working career.
Why is that? Is it just that type of industry that you like, or is it?
Well, I like the idea of helping people. Sure, I'm not saving people's lives, but the electricity that the company I work for generates is doing that. And then it's I guess a little bit more, I don't know, I don't say sophisticated is the word, but the idea that, okay, I'm not protecting from script kiddies or, someone who's just trying to financially motivated. Sure, we have money and customer records, whatever, but it's okay, we're responsible for the power grid. This is, and then also it's just fun because we get to tour a lot of dams and do our, access point scanning. And so a little bit of outdoorsy too. And also job security, I suppose, because, the power people always need power. So if something happens to the economy or something, I feel like that's a little bit more than if I worked for a startup or not like silent sector. I'm saying like a general like startup, like, oh, I have, you know, Grubhub or something before that blew up. But silent sector I'd work for too.
I think we know people that might be able to get you an interview.
Yeah, my boss is a pretty cool guy, and I mean, word on the street is that you've got what it takes to work here. So,
and Hayden, what advice for we speak a lot, as you know, of course, in the book and in the podcast, we speak a lot to those security and IT team leaders, both, and organizational leadership. Tell them a bit about what you are looking for when you're out starting your career, looking for jobs. What attracts you to an organization, and what would turn you away?
I think for me, personally speaking, the biggest thing that I really look for, I guess, is culture. So I was willing to at the beginning when I was looking for a job. So I had a couple of offers, and the culture I work at is like, I really do enjoy it, but it's not as, I don't have as much in common with my coworkers than at this other company that I actually like, they offered me the job. So I was like, okay, I would take a substantial pay cut, but I would maybe more enjoy lunch breaks and, you know, I'd actually have something in common with my coworkers versus the ones right now I have. Like, they're great, they're a little older, but it's just kind of, there's not a lot you have in common. So it's like lunch is always awkward and things like that. But I guess the culture. And then number two, I would say, is like continued education. Like, they support you in that. They have a budget for training, especially with cybersecurity. Like, obviously every industry you need to train and continually train. If you're not staying up to date on trends, if you're not allocating enough time to, you know, read up on things, learn new tactics, or not tactics, but learn what, you know, TTPs are being utilized by the adversary, or if you're reading news from 3 years ago, or like, that's so irrelevant to what's going to happen tomorrow. And you got to stay like up to date. So I guess for me is excuse me, culture. And then if they had a budget, so the company I work at, they don't really budget at all for training. So if you want to take a SANS class, which, you know, $8,000, that's a no, but they will sponsor you and like they'll reimburse you if you pass an exam. That means you're still putting away the time aside, buying the resources, paying for the exam, all of the stuff. And then the other company I'd interviewed at, they're like, oh yeah, we have a hour per day or hour per week or something like that, where no, you know, there's, everyone has the time to study, or not just study, but like read stuff or look at new threat feeds or anything like that. So I guess those are probably the two.
Well, and what would you say? So looking back and switching gears slightly, looking back on your path and getting started, now that you're established and such, and moving forward in your career, what advice would you give to other people that are really aspiring to make a career out of cybersecurity?
What I would say, because I feel like when I started, I was a little bit more like timid and kind of like, I think everyone in this industry is so smart. So I just get very intimidated. I'm like, I don't want to ask something that's stupid, or, you know, but it's just like, you have to just ask, like, you know, and if you're not even sure if cybersecurity is right for you, like, just lean in if you even have, you know, 1% interest in it, because there's so many avenues. You don't have to be a hacker. You don't even have to know anything about computers. Like, I literally knew nothing about computers. And I mean, now I know a decent amount, but you know, there's so much that you can do with it. So I guess be curious and don't be nervous, or don't second guess yourself, because if you have the question, like, I mean, it shows curiosity, it shows critical thinking if you ask it. But I guess that'd probably be my advice. Don't be scared to put yourself out there and ask questions.
Well, thank you. Mike and Laura, any final questions for Hayden?
No, I think, you know, not knowing anything about computers makes you, you know, a prime candidate for IT management.
Is that the case?
Sorry, is that a little harsh?
Yeah, I was going to say that'd be perfect. That's a perfect spot.
Especially the CISO role. Sorry to all our CISO fans out there. We're just kidding with you. It's okay.
Yes, we are here to poke fun, so forgive us. That's the only reason I'm here, is for the clown show. So I didn't realize you didn't know that. Sorry.
Well,
I'm here for the sound effects.
Hayden mentioned stupid questions, and I ask stupid questions all the time. So I think never stop asking them, But well, thank you so much, Hayden. Appreciate you joining us today, and it's just always great to work together on different projects and such. And so, and thank you to all the listeners. If you have any questions for Hayden or for us, please send them our way, and please rate the podcast on your favorite podcast platform, and let us know your comments. We want to hear from you. We want to continue to make these better, and invite more guests and help collaborate with more people in order to share this knowledge to the world, because it's really is needed. We're all in, even though we have different niches in the industry that we take care of different aspects, we're all in this together, really, against in the fight against cybercrime. So we have a lot more to do, and I think we're headed in the right direction, but it'll be a continuous battle to subdue cyber criminals over time. So thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
Pick up your copy of the Cyber Rants book on Amazon today. And if you're looking to take your cybersecurity program to the next level, visit us online at www.silentsector.com. Join us next time for another edition of the Cyber Rants podcast.